King Solomon was the son of King David. He became king of Israel and ruled from 970 to 931 BC. He was chosen king following the advice of the prophet Nathan. King David appointed Solomon as the heir to the throne. Hello, I'm Kathy Bartow. It was when Solomon was about 20 years of age when his father King David died, and Solomon became king of Israel. It was because of his youth that King Solomon had prayed to God about his inability to govern God's people the way that pleases God. So God came to Solomon in a dream. Listen to 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 4 through 15. King Solomon went to the city of Gibeon to offer sacrifices. That's where the most important high place was. There he offered 1,000 burnt offerings on the altar. The Lord appeared to Solomon at Gibeon. He spoke to him in a dream during the night. God said, "Ask for anything you want me to give you." Solomon answered, "You have been very kind to my father David, your servant. That's because he was faithful to you. He did what was right, his heart was honest, and you have continued to be very kind to him. You have given him a son to sit on his throne this day. Lord my God, you have now made me king. You have put me in the place of my father David, but I'm only a little child. I don't know how to carry out my duties. I'm here among the people you have chosen. They are a great nation. They are more than anyone can count. So give me a heart that understands. Then I can rule over your people. I can tell the difference between what is right and what is wrong. Who can possibly rule over this great nation of yours?" The Lord was pleased that Solomon had asked for that. So God said to him, "You have not asked to live for a long time. You have not asked to be wealthy. You have not even asked to have your enemies killed. Instead, you have asked for wisdom. You want to do what is right and fair when you judge people, because that is what you have asked for. I will give it to you. I will give you a wise and understanding heart. So here is what will be true of you. There has never been anyone like you, and there never will be. And that is not all. I will give you what you have not asked for. I will give you wealth and honor. As long as you live, no other king will be as great as you are. Live the way I want you to. Obey my laws and commands, just as your father David did. Then I will let you live for a long time." Solomon woke up. He realized he had been dreaming. He returned to Jerusalem. He stood in front of the Ark of the Lord's covenant. He sacrificed burnt offerings and friendship offerings. Then he gave a feast for all his officials. King Solomon ruled over the whole nation of Israel. Let's continue as I read 1 Kings chapter 4, verses 20 to 28. There were many people in Judah and Israel. In fact, there were as many as the grains of sand on the seashore. They ate, drank, and were happy. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates River to the land of the Philistines. He ruled as far as the border of Egypt. All those countries brought the gifts he required them to bring him, and Solomon ruled over these countries for his whole life. Here are the supplies Solomon required every day: 5.5 tons of the finest flour, 11 tons of meal, 10 oxen that had been fed by hand, 20 oxen that had been fed on grasslands, 100 sheep and goats, deer, antelopes, and roebucks, the finest birds. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms that were west of the Euphrates River. He ruled from Tifsa all the way to Gaza, and he had peace and rest on every side. While Solomon was king, Judah and Israel lived in safety. They were secure from Dan all the way to Beersheba. Everyone had their own vine and their own fig tree. Solomon had 4,000 spaces where he kept his chariot horses. He had a total of 12,000 horses. The local governors provided supplies for King Solomon. They provided them for all who ate at the king's table. Each governor provided supplies for 1 month every year. The governors made sure the king had everything he needed. They also brought barley and straw for the chariot horses and the other horses. Each of the governors brought the amounts required of them. They brought them to the proper places. How much wisdom did God give Solomon? Well, let's listen as I read 1 Kings chapter 4, verse 29 through 34. God made Solomon very wise. His understanding couldn't even be measured. It was like the sand on the seashore. People can't measure that either. Solomon's wisdom was greater than the wisdom of all the people of the East. It was greater than all the wisdom of Egypt. Solomon was wiser than anyone else. He spoke 3,000 proverbs. He wrote 1,005 songs. He spoke about plants. He knew everything about them, from the cedar trees in Lebanon to the hyssop plants that grow out of walls. He spoke about animals and birds. He also spoke about reptiles and fish. The kings of all the world's nations heard about how wise Solomon was, so they sent their people to listen to him. Listen to the story of when the 2 women and the baby came to King Solomon to settle a dispute. It is found in 1 Kings chapter 3, verses 16 through 28. 2 women came to the king. They stood in front of him. One of them said, "Pardon me, my master. This woman and I live in the same house. I had a baby while she was there with me. 3 days after my child was born, this woman also had a baby. We were alone. There wasn't anyone in the house but the 2 of us. During the night, this woman's baby died. It happened because she was lying on top of him. So she got up in the middle of the night. She took my son from my side while I was asleep. She put him by her breast. Then she put her dead son by my breast. The next morning, I got up to nurse my son, but he was dead. I looked at him closely in the morning light, and I saw that it wasn't my baby." The other woman said, "No, the living baby is my son. The dead one belongs to you." But the first woman said, "No, the dead baby is yours. The living one belongs to me." So they argued in front of the king. The king said, "One of you says, 'My son is alive, your son is dead.' The other one says, 'No, your son is dead, mine is alive.'" He continued, "Bring me a sword." So a sword was brought to him. Then he gave an order. He said, "Cut the living child in 2. Give half to one woman and half to the other." The woman whose son was alive was filled with deep love for her son. She said to the king, "My master, please give her the living baby. Don't kill him." But the other woman said, "Neither of us will have him. Cut him in 2. Then the king made his decision. He said, "Give the living baby to the first woman. Don't kill him. She's his mother." All the Israelites heard about the decision the king had given. That gave them great respect for him. They saw that God had given him wisdom. They knew that Solomon would do what was right and fair when he judged people. After King Solomon asked God for wisdom instead of riches, a long life, or revenge against his enemies, it has been said that perhaps no other person was ever given a greater gift of wisdom than King Solomon. Have you asked God for wisdom today? Till next time, peace be with you.